Welcome back, everybody, to the Wild Faith Podcast. My name is Evan Bungham. I have my co-host Luke Timmons here with me today. We are on episode 3 of Chasing the Rut, and things are starting to heat up in the whitetail woods. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Luke, how are you doing today?
Good. We're finally getting some rain here, and so we got the winter rye out yesterday. So we can have some late food.
Nice. It's kind of funny that we waited until almost Halloween to get that out because it's been so dry. This is the first rain probably since, I don't know, maybe August.
Yeah, probably at least. I mean, it's, we've had
substantial rain.
Yeah, we had like a couple little spitter, where it barely even gets the leaves wet on the ground. But yeah, it looks like a good probably inch between now and tomorrow. So it's
perfect.
Should help. And then next week looks like some rain, kind of like Monday, Tuesday. So, but
it's that time. Things are fine. We finally got a good rainstorm up here up north, and we've been incredibly dry. I think the whole state, honestly, the Midwest has been dry. But no, I mean, it's a great time to get out. I mean, post rain to get out and hunt them scrapes. They got deer freshening up scrapes and stuff. But we're in a very exciting window here, and I know a couple people have shot some bucks. Shout out to Brady Kramer. I know he just shot a really nice buck the other day. Hopefully we can have him on here for another follow-up podcast on that one. But tis the season, man. It's go time.
Yeah, I mean, you and I sat Saturday night, and they were,
they were cruising, man.
20, 30 different deer, and a lot of, those little scrub bucks, but that's usually kind of seems like those are the ones that kind of usually tip off first, is start really chasing, and the big guys really start moving.
It's interesting because, you hear a lot of people talk about it, and I feel like the rut comes the same time frame every year. Same thing with the pre-rut, or I guess I'm a big believer in that regardless of, what the dates are, I think it's usually the same time frame every year. Maybe weather might emphasize some things to where things get ramped up a little bit more during the daylight. But yeah, I've heard a lot of reports of little ones chasing. I've heard some big ones chasing too. So, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily, we're not in obviously the chasing phase, but those big ones, they're always the first ones locked down in that first hot doe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting. We get, like I said, the rain today, and then, it's gonna, I mean, it looks like tomorrow afternoon, of course, is going to be the day to sit.
Yeah.
But
Halloween, dad duties.
Dad duty always takes precedence. So gonna get out and do some trick or treating, which will be fun. But I'll be thinking of doing some deer hunting, because it'll be, like if
I trick or treat in my camo.
Yeah, there you go. I'll trick or treat with the deer. No, but no, I mean, then Friday morning looks decent. I was just looking, looks like no wind again, but like Sturgis says, when temps and pressure meet, the deer will be on their feet. So that's Friday morning. It's going to be cold, 30 degrees. And
I'll tell you what, though, it's interesting. I was talking with Zach the other day about it, and he had his number one shooter show up he's been living on the farm, but finally show up in daylight 2 days ago. And it was like, I don't know, it must've been almost 80. It's like 75. So I tell you what, that's one thing that, Sturgis and a lot of other people talk about too, is like, if you do have water holes on your farm, or you have a water source, this is the time now where you're looking like that midday, early evening time frame where you're getting bucks that are starting to hit those water holes. Yep. That you kind of know things are really starting to ramp up now, because those deer are thirsty, because they're actually putting on the miles and putting on the steps, and they're dying. And this is, I shouldn't say they're dying, but they're working a lot harder than they were before they were living in their little tiny bubble.
It's interesting with the water holes, because it's, if you can do it, it's phenomenal. Otherwise, focusing in on, creeks and rivers or whatever you got is always a plus.
Well, even that night we were sitting, we watched all those does getting chased by those little bucks, and, we were sitting probably as the crow flies, I don't know, 350 yards away from each other. The woods we were hunting too it's like a small little 40-acre chunk, or maybe 30-acre chunk of timber, surrounded by ag, and they were getting bumped around by doe. I mean, there must have been, like you said, like 20 does,
Oh
just
yeah.
chaos running around. And you're sitting in your stand. I was sitting in the saddle and just waiting for a buck to show up. It's like there's got to be a big one in here somewhere doing something and nothing.
Yeah.
But those does though, after they ran around for probably 45 minutes, they were. I think I wish I had my camera with me. That there was 4 or 5 of them that were drinking out of the creek.
Mm.
You know.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. When it's dry, money is money.
Mm-hmm.
Or money. Water is money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it'll be another solid week of hunting. It looks like, and we're just slowly moving in. Not slowly. It seems like it's rapidly speeding towards, you
Yeah.
know,
Well, I
the
think it
rut.
makes it hard too. Like time's flying by. It always seems to fly by when we get to this time of the year because days are so precious.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also waiting for that window to like go in and strike. But when you
Yeah.
don't have the weather fronts to really pair up with it, it makes it a lot harder to where you don't necessarily know when you're supposed to sit. But it does look like, for southeastern Minnesota at least, for you guys down on the farm, like it looks like potentially Friday morning, Friday
Mm-hmm.
evening, Thursday night. Obviously, it's Halloween, but it's kind of shaping up to be the best days.
Yeah.
And we'll see what guns, and we'll have a special Chasing the Rut series next week that will be kind of more highlighted on the focus of gun hunting, being that Minnesota gun opener is 2 weeks away here. But it is exciting though because we do get an extra week now
Yeah.
before the army of orange takes everything over.
Well, hell, we're already almost to that extra week, which
I
is
I
crazy.
know
It's a week
it's
and a half
wild.
till a gun, so it's coming hot and furious. And then, you guys are heading out to South Dakota right after
Hmm.
that, and I'll be following the weekend after. So we were just doing the math on trying to fit in other hunts, whether it's duck or pheasant. And it's like
Yeah, it's not happening.
it's gonna be December in a
Yeah,
day.
yeah. So,
Yeah,
do you have any advice for anybody trying to get out maybe this week?
sit in the woods.
Get in the woods.
I
Yeah.
mean, they're ripping scrapes up left and right. Um, so maybe sit you know, uh, like we always talk about, like a inside corner pocket or a rub line or something. Where you're not necessarily sitting on the edge of the woods. You're
Hmm.
sitting in just inside, whether it's 10 yards, 20 yards, whatever floats your boat. But where you're going to be able to actually get the opportunity, at the big guy. Because a lot of times I think people just focus on those edges and miss out on the opportunity to get him because he never steps out until it's
Yeah.
too late and it's dark and you're packing up and he busts out because he hears you clunking around with your stand. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, with the weather the way it is, if you're in southeastern Minnesota or southwestern Wisconsin, that general area, I just get in the woods, sit your best spots where you know know your property, go hunt it.
Oh,
Keep it
that's
simple,
solid. And
stupid.
I think we've got some awesome guests here this week. We had Cody on the podcast this past Monday, and he did an incredible job. And it was a
Mm-hmm.
pleasure to. It was actually this is one of the maybe the second or first one that I haven't been a part of, and I wish I would have. But no, he spewed out just tons of wisdom, and then we
Oh
have
yeah.
another awesome guest. Pete's going to hop on and talk about his success and just kind of
Mm-hmm.
what's happening in the woods in Wisconsin, and it's a
Yep.
good one. So I think we're going to go ahead and cut away to that and get these guys in here. And thanks again for listening, guys. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Quick before we go, be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram for our giveaway. We're giving away some sweet Wild Faith swag, so be sure, and a Havalon Piranha knife. So
That's right.
you get it all if you win. Just be sure to like, follow, and tag two buddies in the comments, and you are entered to win. So
And I think we're doing the giveaway the day before Thanksgiving, right?
yep, that'll be the when we drop the last Chasing the Rut series and announce the giveaway winner.
Love it.
So
Love it. Well, good luck to everyone that's entered in the contest. And like I said, we'll see you guys next week.
both moving switching from early season to kind of this mid like I said mid season late October, what strategies are you kind of starting and changing from early season?
I've actually kind of over the last, I'd say maybe 4 or 5 years, I've really started to like mid to late October even more than
Mm-hmm.
the rut as far as killing specific bucks. Um, Seems like every year, for the last several years, I really kind of dedicate myself to a target deer that I go after. And it seems like, kind of starting about right now, going to the end of the month, especially if we can get a really good cold front. It just seems to be one of the best times of year to get a target deer killed. I feel like obviously the rut's great. You can set yourself up in funnels or specific areas and, get a deer. But I found a lot of times it's hard to kill a specific buck sometimes during the rut, especially on the small farms that I hunt, because they might be on the neighbors chasing a doe, or they might be here locked down or there, and it seems like they're moving a lot more. But I really like to hone in on scrape lines this time of year. With the advancements of trail cameras, I feel like I don't want to say easy, but it's definitely helped kind of narrow down where specific deer are, maybe what scrape lines they're using, stuff like that. And we've been extremely dry out here the last 3 years, so water has been a huge key. I kind of mentioned there, my buddy Will from Hunt Stand came out. He killed a deer opening day of Kansas last year. We were pretty dry on a man-made water hole that I put in, a big 7-year-old deer. So last year, I killed a deer coming to water. He came in, went to a scrape, and then went to water. So I think really you got to kind of just assess what the weather's like that year. For you, obviously food sources are big. We do a lot of food plots and stuff. Green fields seem to be a really good thing this time of year. Like your radishes, your rye, your clovers, alfalfa, stuff like that. So you just kind of really got to assess what the weather's like, really look for cold fronts, and maybe get yourself on a green field or an active scrape line for sure.
That's a wealth of information there and a wealth of knowledge for anyone that's listening here. So going off of that, because we've had a super dry summer, we had a really wet early summer, and now it's been absolutely just dry, and we're finally starting to hit those cold fronts. So when you're talking food source, you're talking the greens. Do you guys have much for like acorns down there or anything?
We do. I have one farm that's pretty loaded with oats. And for whatever reason, we are probably the driest this year that I've seen in my lifetime. Like it's terrible. Most of our, what I call farm ponds and stuff like that are either almost dry or completely dry. Like I took a drive the other day down to some of our Kansas farms, and I probably passed 10 or 12 ponds on dirt roads and the highway, and pretty much every single one of them was dry. It's bad, but for whatever reason, the acorn crop this year was just insanely good. And on that 80-acre farm, I've noticed it's been a little difficult to pinpoint a deer on that property because there is so many oak trees, and they can pretty well just go wherever they want. There's really no way to narrow one down there right now. And there's a couple decent bucks, mature bucks on that farm this year, but nothing I've really been targeting yet. So it can make it difficult. Acorns can make it difficult, I feel like, especially if you've got a lot of them. It can definitely be tough to pinpoint them down. Now, if you've got like one or two specific trees, then I feel like it's a little easier to pinpoint them down. I know a few guys that have done that. So I know a guy out in North Carolina that kind of hunts the mountains there, and he has on his place just a couple random wild apple trees that he's killed some really good bucks off of in the past, back in deep timber. So
interesting. Yeah, we were out pheasant hunting. This pheasant just opened here in Minnesota, so we were out pheasant hunting, and we were, as I'm walking, I'm pinging spots on my phone for deer on some public pieces, and I found, and it's funny you mentioned that because I did find an apple tree in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, this would be a really good spot to set up on. So,
yeah, for sure. I mean, little things like that, people would be surprised if you can find that little edge like that. You can definitely get lucky.
Heck yeah. So, I mean, with being so dry, have you guys had much, of that EHD and stuff down by you?
We haven't had a lot yet. I've heard of it here and there. I have a couple does and one mature buck on our Nebraska farm that's not looking the healthiest. Um, he's a 5-year-old deer, probably,
Mm.
I don't know, right around the 150 mark. But he is super skinny and not looking good. But he's looked that way, gosh, it's probably the second week of August. And I
Okay.
have had, it seems like, and I don't know if this is, you know, correct or not. I'm just telling you what I've witnessed, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
2012 was a horrible EHD year here for us. Like, there's places that had 70 to 80% kill off in certain
Oof.
areas. My farms were hit decently, not that much. But the deer I killed that year, I actually had tested. He kind of went MIA late summer on the trail camera, showed back up, looked terrible. Ended up surviving. I killed him November the 8th that year. He was an 8-year-old deer that I had a ton of history with.
Wow.
And I had him tested and he had it and survived. So I
Okay.
definitely, I don't know if there's different strains. I think there is different strains of it. I don't know if maybe they can get immunity to it. You know, we've had a few different years that we've had it in certain areas, and I do feel like it almost seems like they're maybe getting some immunity to it. I don't know if that's scientific or not, but it just seems like it. Um,
Yeah.
and I do truly feel we do have a pretty good feed program here. We don't hunt over bait. You can in Kansas, you can't in Nebraska, but we do feed year round with a
Mm-hmm.
really good protein feed that I have made here at our local co-op that I came up with them, and I I've seen a huge difference in my opinion. You know, keeping them healthy. You know, we plant a lot of food plots. It just seems like our deer are always very healthy, and I think that helps. If the deer's already healthy going into getting sick, I mean, it's no different than me and you. You know, if we eat
Right.
good, you know, keep on our vitamin, you know, stuff like that, and we get sick, it maybe not is going to be as bad as somebody that eats donuts all day long, you know, stuff like that. So, um, it just, I'm hoping we don't see it too much. So far, I haven't seen a ton, but we'll see how the year
Good.
goes.
For sure. No, that's a good PSA because I always feel going down the healthy rabbit hole a little bit is like hunting season comes and I'm like I'm pretty solid all summer long and then I start those early morning gas station
Oh
runs and you're
yeah,
grabbing a
you bet.
breakfast sandwich or two.
You bet. It's
For
pretty hard to get
yeah.
off track right away.
Yeah, exactly. So when do when do you make that switch, and or maybe you don't, but when do you make that switch from like, I know a lot of people usually hunt just in the afternoon, evenings for early season. When do you start making that switch and hunting mornings?
Usually around the 20th of October. It just really depends too on the farm and stand placements. I feel like a lot of people, you know, are just like, do not hunt early season in the mornings.
Right.
I agree with that to an extent, but I definitely feel like it depends on the situation, the type of terrain you're hunting. Um, you know, if you're hunting somewhere where you're just hunting giant woodlots, you know, what's the difference if you're hunting bedding? You know, if you're trying to hunt more than
Mm-hmm.
close to bedding, obviously they're not probably going to be close to that bedding in, you know, right away. So, you know, the biggest problem we run into here early season where I'm at is, you know, you've got pockets of timber here and there and then giant agricultural fields. So getting to certain stands this time of year where there's, you know, several deer in those fields that you have to go through to get to where you want to go, definitely can be difficult. You know, whereas during the rut you can get away with a little more, you know, and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that where they're just running around crazy. But you know, I've got some areas. I've got a couple stands I've honestly thought about going, and I just haven't. You know, getting the kids to school in the mornings and stuff, and just the way it just hasn't worked out yet. But I've got a
Yep.
couple stands that I can kind of come in the back door to certain areas that I definitely could get into in the mornings if I had the right wind. I think it just so much of hunting, I feel like, is situational. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
area you're hunting, the type of terrain you're hunting, things like that. There's just not one thing that can fit everybody across the country for sure. So I think you just gotta kind of assess the situation. You know, what terrain you're hunting and the area you're hunting, and go from there and make a good decision.
Absolutely. So if you had to sum up as best you can, what would Cody Butler's magical formula be for deciding to pick a spot, if it's a combination of weather, what trail cameras are showing you, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely think going off cameras helps.
Mm-hmm.
I think once you get further into the season, I think cameras definitely help early in the year. Just trying to get a deer on a pattern. When things start getting a little closer to the rut, obviously that can change. They're going to maybe tell you he's in the area, but then at that
Yep.
time, you just kind of got to use your woodsmanship and go off of that, and find maybe specific funnels, areas that narrow down to where deer are going to go through. And one thing that I've really went off of is just history with the deer. I mean, we don't usually try to start targeting anything until it's 5 or 6 years old around here.
Mm-hmm.
So by then, I've usually got a pretty decent idea of how that deer moves, how he travels, what he's doing. And one thing that I will say I think is extremely overlooked is every deer has a different personality. There is very aggressive deer. There's deer that are extremely passive. Um, I've had really good luck late October killing deer maybe with rattling horns, getting close to where I think he's bedding and making him mad, and come out basically that type of stuff, just making him think another buck's invading his home range.
Right.
I think that can be really a good thing, but you've got to know if that deer is aggressive by going off of past history. Some
Mm-hmm.
deer that I've hunted in the past, and I think one of the most difficult deer to kill is the passive type bucks that maybe don't like to be around other deer. They don't like to fight as much. They're just, for example, that deer that my buddy Will from Hunt Stand killed last year. He got 7.5 years old, and I think I saw that deer once or twice ever, and my neighbors only saw him maybe 2 or 3 times
Okay.
in his whole lifetime. He was just really hard to pin down, moved a lot at night. He was never with any other bucks, it seemed like, on the trail cameras. He was just a super loner deer. Would
Mm-hmm.
always shed his velvet the last. He would be one of the last deer to shed his velvet. Will actually killed him in velvet, like clear into the 12th or something like that of
Wow.
September, which is just very rare around here. And
Yeah.
he came in with a bunch of does. I mean, he was a big, muscular. I mean, gosh, he was probably pushing 300 pounds in September when he shot.
Jeez.
I mean, just a giant. Will's from Texas. He walks up to the deer. He's like, "My gosh, look at the size of this!" Like he just couldn't
What did
believe how
he
big
eat?
it was. But
Yeah.
I just really think learning the deer himself, how he moves and his personality and stuff, and sometimes you got to be aggressive on him, and sometimes you've got to be, a little more passive. I think time of year really is a thing you need to look at too, as far as when you want to get aggressive. When you get closer to the rut, you can obviously get away with a little bit more. I used to be a very passive hunter. I feel like since probably I hunted a deer in 2017 that really taught me a lot, and I finally killed him just getting more aggressive with him. Um,
Okay.
and since then, I feel like I've killed most of the deer I would say I kill in the very first or second time in, because I just really try to learn him specifically, and then I'll
Mm-hmm.
only hunt him on a day that I think I can kill him, and that usually is maybe weather. I'm a big, big, big believer in the red moon. I
Okay.
bet I've killed seriously 90% of the bucks that I've killed in the last 6 or 7 years on red moon days. Uh,
Interesting.
I I'm not saying it's a foolproof thing, but I just going off of trail cameras and really kind of studying when I'm getting daylight pictures of deer, and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. It just seems like, at least in my area, there's something to that.
Okay.
So yeah.
I like it. How do you operate your, trail camera database as far as pictures go? Are you running some sort of software of your own, or you got a big old Excel
I
sheet?
don't really run anything off any programs or anything. I'm kind of old school. I just either write stuff
Mm-hmm.
down or put it in the computer myself.
Yep.
And with cell cameras and stuff on your phone, you can even go back in time, and look at stuff if you need to, and things like that. So,
Nice.
yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go live with Peter Capola, live in Onalaska, Wisconsin. I was gonna say La Crosse, but you guys are up in Onalaska.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much the same thing, but
Yeah,
different names, I guess. They kind of all run together.
for sure. And I see, is that the? Are you rocking the big buck trophy behind you?
Oh yeah, you got to have that behind me, right?
Love it.
It's coming up.
Settlebred.
I mean,
Yeah,
1 month it could be gone, but
yeah, right. So when is gun opener for Wisconsin?
it's late. I think it's the third weekend in November this
Okay,
year.
so like the 16th or
Oh no, what's one more?
23rd?
Yeah, I think it's the 23rd,
Okay,
which
yeah,
is
that is
really
later.
late.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we're kind of, Minnesota opens up so early, so, but this year it's not until the 9th, which is kind of like a blessing for some of us bow hunters because
yeah,
we get a little bit extra time in that rut phase to chase some deer.
yeah. I know you guys have talked about it, and same here. It's like people are like, "Oh, gun season's so late," but I was like, "Well, I mean, you get another whole week of prime bow hunting before there's just a flood of people in the woods. So
Yeah, before that
if you
orange
can't get
army
it done
comes
before
march.
then, yeah,
Yeah, you're gonna have your work cut out for you come late November and December.
right, right,
But obviously, I mean, behind you, you got some stud bucks. I don't know if those are all yours because I know Laura has shot some studs as well. But
yeah,
you guys are quite the bow hunting duo. Um, so just kind of give me a breakdown of what you've kind of been seeing in the woods lately over in Wisconsin.
yeah. So doe, like I've mainly been hunting around my house. We have 5 acres back
Mm-hmm.
in a coulee. You kind of go through a neighborhood and then kind of get back to some houses that have like 5 acre plots, and then at the end, someone's got like 120 acres. So there's
Nice.
really great habitat. It's kind of like that urban hunting feel, but still a lot of woods. So
Yeah.
like every time I drive home at night, I'll see deer roaming the neighborhoods, and then we get back
Nice.
to our house. So
Yeah.
cool to see. Um, the last couple of weeks, I mean, they're picking up. I've been grunting a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff just funnels in. And um, 3 nights ago, I think I did like a grunting sequence, and a nice 8 pointer came in, made a scrape, and was milling around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And he started heading down the bluff. I could still see him, so I was kind of waiting for him to clear to do like another grunting sequence to hope. I was hoping that he was going to be out of the way, and I could see if I could pull anything else in. But it actually worked out pretty cool. He heard it, and he
Yep.
come running back up the bluff, looking around, and it just happened to be I could see him staring off to my right.
Yep.
And I was like, "There's got to be another buck coming." So there's a bigger. It was a 9, and he come over the hill, and they locked eyes, and he was all postured and everything. He was ready to go, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that little one's like, not
I'm out
today.
of here.
Yeah, he cowered down and turned around and started grazing again.
Yep.
And that big one kind of followed him a little bit, ripped up a scrape and ripping up some branches, and that was cool to see. I pulled back on that, the second one that came in.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of was set on it. I was like, oh, this one's got to be bigger, like
Yep.
a really good shooter come in. It was a nice buck, but it's cool to see. I got a whole video of
Nice.
that bigger buck coming in and pushing that little one off. So that was cool. I haven't brought the antlers out yet. I
Okay.
should have, do a little rattling and see what comes in. But I think stuff's kicking off, and I think it's kind of interesting. When I was younger, I was like, Halloween. Halloween's the day to be in the
Yeah.
woods.
Yep.
Everyone always talks about Halloween.
Yeah.
Um, but I've realized that now it's kind of like the areas you're hunting, and I've talked to people. They say it's because those does go into their cycle
Mm-hmm.
pretty much close to the same time every year,
Yep.
and it's different in every little section. So hunting up at the main farm at Joe's, it's like the first second week of November. I think those ones kind of go off
Okay. So you think you're a little early then where you're at?
at that farm, yeah. But then it's not that far away. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
15 miles
Yep.
up to West Salem, that area,
Mm-hmm.
and they're kind of historically going like Halloween.
Okay.
So it's interesting to be so close and have
Such a
different
variation.
different cycles. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just me noticing it that way, but it seems to be in years past, those two areas are about a
Difference.
week and a half off. Yeah,
Okay. No, I mean that's a super good point you bring up because everyone gets so locked into, their rutcation. I got to get these dates off because, you know, but and that's where the whole, running trail cameras, just being, an observant, hunter when you're out in the stand and taking those notes like you're talking about of like, okay, where I'm hunting here is a little bit there, and it is funny because like you said, it's only what 15 miles away, but
yeah,
that's enough of a difference where it can be a completely different hunt. We were just out hunting last weekend, and the difference between, I mean, we're talking a few miles from where Evan's folks farm is to where we were hunting on some other private, and where the his folks farm is, it was pretty dead. There's movement. We've had some shooters kind of run through, but not anything daylighting yet. But then we were down, just a few miles east, and I mean, I was like counted probably 20, 30 deer that night. And it was just like nonstop. It was like that last hour and a half, a couple does came out, and then all of a sudden they were just running. I mean, it was a lot of little dink bucks, but the shooters are somewhere hiding away.
yeah,
But it's yeah.
yeah. They say that's. I mean, those little ones like to start going early,
Yep,
and then the
exactly.
big ones are a little smarter and they know when it actually is, and then so it's a little precursor when the little ones are going, I guess.
For sure. You mentioned the bringing out the antlers to do some rattling. When do you kind of start adding in, the antlers and the buck tube and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Um, I definitely start grunting before I do the antlers. I'm a little weary on antlers.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a lot of movement,
Mm,
I think, up in a tree.
sure.
And if you can't see something and you want to do like a blind rattling sequence and they could pick you out. I don't know.
It's a good point.
I've heard a lot of guys, can rattle them in every year, but
Hmm.
I think the grunt tube is just a little less invasive, I think. I mean,
Sure.
it's not, it's like a natural sound for
Hmm.
deer going through the woods. So
Yep.
just a little curiosity thing. Um, I don't know. Antlers are pretty cool though if it does work. You're just
Yeah.
simulating a big fight and then something's going to come in. But
Right. Right.
I always have like one of those bleat cans too. I don't
Oh,
know
yep.
if I've really had luck with that. It seems to be more responsive with the grunts, but that could also be just what I prefer. So that's what I'm using.
For sure. Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
And
the grunt call I have, it just goes. I can put it on my wrist or my arm, and it's just pretty easy to put on. I can, if I get bored, get bored, give a couple grunts, see what's going
yeah.
on. But
So it attaches to your wrist or arm?
yeah, it's got a little band on it. I don't know.
Okay.
It's an old one.
That's interesting. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Usually it's just the neck, goes around
yeah,
your neck, but that's kind of nice that you can, because, I feel like you get so much gear sometimes when you're sitting in a tree stand. You got your bino harness with your
yeah,
rangefinder, grunt tube, and it's just like one more thing that you got to try and maneuver, especially when you go to pull back.
yeah.
Um, brings up a memory of the beast mode archery games with Eric and his
Oh
bino
yeah.
harness and slapping his wrist with his
Jeez,
yeah.
that
But
was
no, that's
nasty.
super. Yeah, that was. Um, poor Eric. We always pick on him. But so as talking, call sequences. What else are you kind of looking for? I know, like right now, it's kind of we're probably similar as far as weather goes. Finally, going to get some rain here tonight. What do you kind of focus in on as far as weather this late October kind of time frame?
Cold fronts. Everyone talks about cold fronts,
Yep.
and this year's weather is, you kind of think about it. It's like cold, and then it'll be 80s. I mean, it was 80
Mm-hmm.
degrees here yesterday.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, and it's kind of, I don't know if it's true, but it's kind of a blessing in disguise here because I mean, we get 3 or 4 days in the hot and then it cools down for a day or two. So it's like almost not unlimited, but multiple cold fronts coming through.
Right.
So you can kind of look at it that way. I'm hoping now, I was kind of looking at the extended forecast. It's going to be cooler,
Mm-hmm.
50s, 40s, 50s during the day and then in the 30s at
Yeah.
night. But yeah, when it's cooling off, when you have to clean leaves off your driveway every single day,
I just mulched my yard yesterday. I know
twice a
what you mean.
day. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna try to get that done today and see if I can sit. We're supposed to get some rain tonight, so
Yeah.
I don't know if I can get out, but
Do you sit? Do you sit much in the rain?
not generally. I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of miserable, and then
Yep, I hear
if you
you.
do shoot something, you're worried about the blood trail getting washed away. And
Yeah.
I've seen people do it. I mean, sitting in a blind wouldn't be bad, but most of
Mm-hmm.
my setups are tree
Tree
stands,
stand. Yep, for sure. What are you going to get out much this weekend, or you got to work?
I'm off. So I actually
Oh,
took,
perfect.
I'm supposed to work Sunday, Monday. I
Mm-hmm.
just got off this morning, so I have 4 days off, and then my next two shift days were Sunday, Monday. So I took off Sunday, Monday a long time ago, just because it's that first week
Yep.
in November, which has been
Very
historically
good.
good. So
Heck yeah.
I got those off. I'm gonna try to hunt tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much all day, hopefully, until we gotta get home to do some trick or treating with the
Yeah,
girls.
for sure. Yep.
That's another thing with Halloween. When you're younger, you can go out for the evening
Exactly.
hunt, but you
Yep.
got some obligations now with being a dad.
Right. I hear you on
Um,
that one.
but yeah, I think it's always like a juggling match too, especially when you're seeing a lot of bucks. Um, like that one I said I had pulled back on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of thinking that, I mean, he was 20, 25 yards probably and just making a scrape. And it's like
Yep.
I'm pulled back on him. I could shoot, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man, do I want my season to be over? Rut's just picking up.
Yeah.
You're done then.
Yep.
But then the other side of it is like when you get to the end of bow season and you don't have one, you're like, oh man,
Oh yeah. Yep. I've been
it
there.
could have
Yeah. There's been a
could have
couple
taken that
seasons
one.
where I've been pulled back on a buck and it's like, I know there's bigger ones out here, and then let it down,
Yeah,
and then it's mid-December and you're still got a tag in your pocket, and then it's good old tag soup come the new
right.
year.
Yeah, but I mean, it's every time you go out, it's fun.
Yeah,
I've
for
been
sure.
pulling my phone out a lot more in the last couple of years and trying to get videos of these deer. Just
Yep.
because when you're out there hunting, it's fun. It's
Mm-hmm.
you get to see them in their natural habitat. But when you get a video of it, it's like, I mean, it's not the same watching the video, but it's still like a little memory snippet that you
Exactly.
got.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, I mean, you were texting me. To just before this, sent me some sweet videos of, like I said, it looked like you were just kind of covered in bucks. So
Yeah,
it is kind of. You're gonna have to get one of those little like, what's the brand name? I can't think of it now, but it's not. Fourth Arrow is one of them, but there's another newer brand that like there's it's like a magnet clip for the end um of your stabilizer. Have you seen that one?
you put your phone on it.
Yeah, so it's like you could just like pop it right on there.
Okay, yeah, I've seen a couple of them, but yeah, I should look into that. Then you could get the whole shot if you're taking one. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. See if I can't. Whatever. But no, the other thing I wanted to bring up too, which was really sweet, which I've never seen out sitting in the woods, was your Bobcat video. We'll have
Yeah,
to cut that in quick on this little interview here, but that was kind of cool. Now,
yeah, that was
was that the Bobcat making the noise, or are you kind of messing with it, calling too, or no?
no, that was the Bobcat. So
Wow.
that's the first one I've seen hunting,
Yeah.
bow hunting. I've seen them turkey hunting in the spring.
Okay.
But so yeah, I was sitting in my stand and I'm hearing stuff where I usually hear deer come through, and all of a sudden I see this bobcat and it's coming down right into one of my shooting lanes. And so I got my phone out and I got a video of it. It's pretty cool. It's a okay sized bobcat, I think, and it went by. And that the video I sent you is actually another one coming through that must be like a kit or something, because it
Okay.
was coming on the same trail and was making that like that whining cry noise. And
Yep.
I don't know if it was looking for the one that went by past earlier.
Okay.
But yeah, that one came right under my stand and kind of was right there and then cut down. And
Super cool.
yeah, I saw them. So they circled around several times through the night, and I was like, man, this is awesome. I'm getting videos of them. And then it's getting closer to the shooting time. I'm like, man, this isn't so cool. I haven't seen a deer. Like, I don't know if these things
Yeah.
are, you know, affecting the deer movement, or
Sure.
maybe they just weren't coming out, but that's what I'm blaming it on. I was like, this is so cool
These
seeing these
darn
bobcats.
bobcats.
Yeah, and then I'm like, one of them at one time, I can send you some more videos, is out in the food plot, literally goes to a buck, like a big buck scrape rub on the ground, and sits there and cleans itself, just sitting in the food plot. And that's got to be 15 yards from me. I can't
Oh,
believe.
wow.
I mean, they're pretty. I don't know if they're looking for like hunting themselves, but they did not
Yeah.
look up in a tree because they were
Right.
close and they had no idea I was there. So
Well, you must have some pretty good scent control then.
yeah, I guess so, or lucky.
Or lucky, yeah, right?
Yeah, yeah. They're
That's
one and the
awesome.
same. One and the same.
Exactly. Sweet, man. Well, like I said, we'll keep this short. I wanted to get kind of like your input on what you've been seeing out in the woods. It looks like it's really, or sounds like it's starting to, well, looks and sounds like it's starting to really kind of start to pop off for you here. So
Yeah.
best of luck. Now you got like 4 or 5 days here to get some hunting in. So
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully it gets done. I haven't shot a doe either. I usually say I like to shoot a doe or two early. I wasn't able to get out, so
Yep.
you know, kind of anything that comes by doe wise, I should be flinging an arrow. Hopefully
Restocking that freezer, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Sweet, man. Well, we'll get you back on here in a couple weeks probably, and see how you've been, and then see if there was a successful hunt here.
Yeah. Hopefully all the hunters are getting their opportunities or seeing stuff here, and I mean it's the time to be in the woods for sure. So
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And like you said, with that cold front coming in about perfect to Halloween time, it kind of lines up just nice and perfect for us. But
for sure.
Sweet, man. Well, best of luck to you, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Pete.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through faith in the great outdoors. We hope today's episode has inspired you to seek God's presence in the wilderness and deepen your connection with nature. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to the Wild Faith Podcast on your favorite platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode, and you'll continue to be a part of the Wild Faith Podcast community. We'd also love to hear from our listeners, so please don't hesitate to reach out with your questions, comments, or topic suggestions. You can connect with us on social media or through our website. Your feedback is important to us and helps us improve and tailor our content to better serve you. And always remember, the great outdoors isn't just a playground for hunting and fishing. It's a sanctuary for finding solace and spiritual renewal. As you gear up for that next adventure, I pray you find God's presence in the crackling of a campfire, the thrill of reeling in your catch, or the quiet solitude found in nature. Until next time, thank you for listening to the Wild Faith Podcast. Take care, and God bless.